Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about Hunter Biden's follow-up effort to Judge Eileen Cannon's dismissal of the Mar-a-Lago case. So we had to expect this was coming. Eileen Cannon's reason for dismissing the case is that the special counsel, in that case, Jack Smith, was not appointed according by law, being the constitutional term, because she goes through a variety of different provisions that the DOJ say gave Merrick Garland the authority to appoint Jack Smith, but finds that they do not, and then for good measure completely doesn't distinguish, but just ignores a sentence in the unanimous opinion in U.S. versus Nixon that's been cited ever since those 50 years, again and again, for exactly the proposition that she disputes or says doesn't hold. So, among other things, as I said before, for a district court judge to do this was cheeky, yes. Indefensible might be the other term. Okay, but so an immediate question, what about other special counsels? There's nothing distinct about Jack Smith here. So Robert Hur, who was appointed to look into Biden, but didn't bring charges, so there's maybe not a fight, but was that unconstitutional? I'm sorry, I really should not say unconstitutional. I'm being swayed by the press coverage. Was that illegal? It's really not a constitutional decision on Cannon's part. All she's saying is these particular statutes that the DOJ rely on are not sufficient authority, and therefore the appointment was not by law. All right, but let's move to a pretty interesting case, a sort of tweener case. That would be David Weiss. David Weiss was the U.S. attorney in Delaware under Donald Trump. And for completely surface, obvious, undisputed reasons, when Garland and the Biden folks came in, he'd already been investigating Hunter Biden. They've been, remember Hunter Biden laptop figures in the actual presidential election. They've been after him forever. And Weiss had already at the time been investigating him for various misdeeds, maybe involving the attempt to kind of traffic in his father's name, in his business in with Burisma in Soviet Central Asia. They'd been going after him, and it seemed like a dry hole then. But Merrick Garland, who to some people's dismay is, the Boy Scout of Boy Scouts, left him in. They left him in so he could continue to make Hunter Biden's life miserable, so nobody would say, oh, they took out the U.S. attorney, which of course you do at the change of administration. So he got to stay in. He was still a U.S. attorney, though, and the point in the Cannon opinion is U.S. attorney is okay. They are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, and in that sense, it would have been done by law. But you may remember there came to be a whole kind of dispute where Weiss was suggesting he didn't have the full authority of the department, and the Congress itself went totally berserk over this. And there was the report from somebody who was in a meeting with Weiss where they think Weiss has reported, well, I can't do that because I'm not a special counsel. It turned out to be, at best, a misunderstanding, at worst, a kind of a hack job by that agent who testified. But again, to bend over backwards and leave no possible inference that Weiss had in any way been hamstrung. Weiss, when he asked, and he did ask, to be appointed a special counsel, Garland said, okay. And the practical impact of doing this is that he didn't need to go to another district. Remember, they're also investigating and are going to brought charges against Hunter Biden in L.A. If you're just a special attorney, under the DOJ terms, you need to say pretty please to a U.S. attorney if you're bringing something in another district. If you're a special counsel, you don't have to. So that was the reason. And indeed, it was at that point basically that the roof fell in on Hunter Biden, and from the very favorable to Biden plea deal and following some very tough criticism, public criticism on the Hill about how Weiss, was going easy on Biden. Weiss has since thrown the book at him, and in a way that seems like a raw deal, but you can't really litigate, within the legal system. If a prosecutor chooses to do that, she or he usually can have free rein. So he brings the charges and the things that we just saw about the gun counts. He's convicted in Delaware, and he's in really hot water still in L.A. on the tax stuff. Okay, that's the state of play. But now he comes in and says, good for the R, whatever, and says, same thing. Smith was unconstitutionally appointed, is how he puts it. It really ought to be illegally appointed. And that's, why not? Why not take that shot? Okay, but two important points to note. The first one is it's a trickier case because when he took some of the initial steps against Hunter Biden, David Weiss was not a special counsel. He was just the holdover U.S. attorney who was on the job. And so, there's going to be a parsing of action by time and when was taken and when was, if the actual, I think the tax charges may post-date the appointment, whatever, but they'll be able to say, one, I'm a U.S. attorney who's been already confirmed by the Senate, and in that situation, I'm okay. I don't have to. Unlike Jack Smith, I've been provided for by law because in my other guise, the Congress signed off on me, so I'm good. And then second, they'll point to what are the actual actions that Biden says were illegal or under this new canon theory. And maybe they don't include, maybe even though he's now special counsel, he wasn't at the time. And I'll just add, the opinion by canon is, as I've said, crazy, indefensible, can't hold up, completely nuts. So the third difficult point for Biden is, the 11th Circuit's going to reverse canon, and and now there's a federal court in Delaware who's not bound by canon, and will, if we don't know what the papers will read or how will they give some sway to what she has said, and say, well, so we'll do it too. I don't think so. It's just such a, piece of trash opinion that even without these factual distinctions, it shouldn't have purchase outside the duchy of the Southern District of Florida where Eileen Cannon gets to rule. And just one little asterisk here, which is there is a different problem for Weiss that didn't exist for Smith. The regulations say that when you do a special counsel, it needs to be somebody from outside the department. You can imagine why, if you're really trying to be completely arm's length and impartial, if you just sort of anoint somebody who's in the department and therefore already bathed in the culture of the DOJ, which by hypothesis is to just go after Republicans, etc., then the title change wouldn't do it. So that's why they had to cast their net for someone not in the DOJ when they found Jack Smith. That's not the case with David Weiss. He's been in the department forever, but he just said, hey, please make me a special counsel. And at that point, the political stars had lined up that Garland did it. Now, there's nothing illegal about Garland doing it, or at least at a minimum, nothing that can be challenged. I mean, he can make this point, but the regulations, which are the things that haven't been followed, say outright, like almost all regulations of this sort, this doesn't create any cause of action in an individual defendant. So I put it as this final asterisk just to say, here's a way in which Weiss is even sort of worse if you bought into this bizarre worldview that Cannon had, because he doesn't even fit the regulations. Okay, so predictably enough, Hunter Biden says, me too. However, not clear that he is a Me Too under the facts and the law as Cannon did it, and more importantly, the facts and the law as Cannon construed them, are on a whole different solar system, cannot stand up. And so even if in the very unlikely event that the federal district court judge in Delaware, gives it a little bit of credence, it can't stand. The Third Circuit, which is above, will reverse. The whole thing is completely nuts. What it really, and Biden's sophisticated counsel must know this, but it does bring home the thematic point that they want to do of unequal justice. Donald Trump walks, Hunter Biden, goes to jail. And doesn't that suck? And it does suck, but not because anything about the lawful or unlawful appointment of Jack Smith or David Weiss, which is just a make-weight argument that Eileen Cannon used to dismiss, but cannot stand in the legal system, even if Donald Trump becomes president. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.